Hi guys, this is the second video about validation.NET Core MVC, and in this video I'll look at how to use validation attributes client-side and server-side. Okay, so let's take a look at client-side first. So how does client-side validation work? And you got to understand that the only code that runs in the browser is JavaScript. It might not be entirely true, but it's pretty close to the truth at least. So that means that one way of using validation attributes to generate client-side validation would be for them to generate JavaScript and include that on the page. That's not really what happens. In reality, what they do is they include some scripts, two scripts, JavaScripts, and then they generate HTML that uses these scripts. So in order to get that to work, we need to make some setup. First, we need to install these two packages, jQuery validation and jQuery unobtrusive validation. You can do that using NuGet Package Manager or install them from the Package Manager console. You might also be able to reference them online. I usually just download them, but referencing them online might actually be a nicer way to do it. And then you need to include these in your page. And there are many ways to do that. I'll show you what you want to end up with. You want to end up with what's written in this file. It's there in a new MVC project. These two lines, you need those in your page. And the proper way to do that, or the way it's meant to be done, is by making this section here in your page if you want to include the scripts. And what happens is that the default layout renders this. If you want to know more about layouts and sections, you can see I have another YouTube video here. But this you could also just take this. Let's see how the layout is rendering it. It's rendering it like this. That's not true. Let's see. You need the You need this section here. Instead of putting the section here, you can take this and just put anywhere in your page. But this indirect way of doing it is the way you want to do it, because then you have more control, you have more possibilities. Anyway, once you get those introduced, you got to make sure that your view has a model, and this I want to validate the person view model, and so I write add model. And then for your input fields, you should write those in a certain way. Like if you want to use tag helpers, this is the way to do it. ASP4 equals name. And if you want to use HTML helpers, it's editor4 and then model into model.name. So this is like sort of a type safety. You reference the model. This one doesn't seem to reference the model since it's a string, but it'll give you a compile time error if you try to run it and you misspell name. And this is all that's needed, really, to give you some client-side validation. This will prevent the form from submitting if the fields are not valid. And let me show you what it's supposed to be like. So I have this running here. First, we can take a look at the age to show you what the final result we're going to end up with is. If I delete this, I immediately get visual feedback that something is wrong. I can write 7, or I can write 222, and that's too big, so it responds immediately. So now I would like to enter a valid age and a valid birthday, but an invalid name here. And see if I can submit this now. So I press create, and now you should watch this. It's not supposed to do a submit, and it doesn't. But I don't get any visual clue either. But you can see it puts focus to the input field that's in error. It just doesn't give me the visual cue as down here. So, but it still prevents the form from being submitted. Okay, so now I think I want to turn that off. What's wrong is that I removed something. This one. The validation message for I had that for the age, but I didn't have it for the name. And now I'll get the same visual clue as for the age. So let's go back to this. Show errors client side. So we need to have either HTML helper calls or tag helpers. If you want to use HTML helper, you use validation message for. If you want to use tag helper, you type sp/for equal name. And what does, it causes the jQuery validation to display the red label if the name is not valid or the age is not valid. Okay, let's see if that's correct, see if it works. Okay, so let's see. Sometimes it's hard when you just display the page. It can be difficult to get the validation to work. See, it doesn't really work. It needs to lose focus, and then it still doesn't work. Okay, so sometimes it's like I haven't figured out what it exactly takes. But now it's okay. See, now we want to see if this one's okay too. And I type something, and this is correct. And if I lose focus, and then now it's working. So it needs to have a correct value, and then leave the field, and then come back to the field and type something invalid. I don't know why they did it like this. It's but it's by design, I'm quite sure. Okay, so now this one also displays the visual cue. And this one should also, if I push this, see, it didn't submit at all. But now I get the visual clue for the birthday also. And this is the visual cue. This gives the visual cue, right? Validation message for. So I skipped a slide here behind the scenes. I'd like to show you what is actually generated. So let's just refresh this and take a look at the source. So this is the name, I think. So you have this, an ordinary input type equals text field, and then a whole bunch of other attributes, right? And these come from my Let's see where they come from. Where's my person here? So from all my attributes. And how does this prevent the form from being submitted? It does, because these scripts are included here. So if these are not there, it doesn't work. They take control over the submit process and checks all the fields. I think this one is what gives the red. If there's the red visual clue, if there's something wrong. But it's all run by jQuery. You don't need to worry about it. It'll work fine. If I just like type create, I'll just get all three of them, and now it's running all right also. So that's what happens behind the scenes. Okay. So we had the validation messages. This also you can have a summary also. And the summary only comes if you do a submit. And you can ask yourself, how can I do a submit if the validation is preventing the submit? But you might recall that I had a rule that the age should be at least 18, but that was a custom. It was my own, and it doesn't validate client side. So now I can try to create this, and then I get not old enough for this side since it's not 18 yet. And you can see you get the error here also. So this kind of summary you can achieve by using a validation summary, or you can use this tag helper validations ESP validation summary equals all. And it's important that you don't just write a slash here after the div. You need to have the end div tag. So what is nice about this is that you get all kinds of errors in it. But it's not necessary. Okay. So let's skip to the last subject, server-side validation. So why do we need server-side validation? Because, as I said, clients can disable JavaScript. Some of the custom validation attributes may not be client-side enabled, like you saw my age check attribute that requires the age to be at least 18. But it's also possible to send HTTP requests to the server through some other means than a browser. There are tools that you can use to send HTTP requests, and they will completely bypass any client-side validation. So you need the server validation. So luckily, we can still use the same attributes. Otherwise, there wouldn't be too much of a point. So let's take a look at how that is done. So when I submit my page, I hit this action. And the first thing, what you usually do is you just do this. If not model state that is valid, you just do nothing. You return to the same view or whatever. And that means that you don't really perform the action on the server side. And you go back, if you do this, you go back to the same view here, return the same view, index view, instead of the completed view with the same person. So you get the same, you get all that the user entered, including, and you also get the model state validation. So, and the, what's it called? You get the validation summary here. And you'll get all the validation messages. So that's nice. Or you can redirect to some error page and show you didn't enter this correctly. Please do it again. It's also possible to loop error messages. I'm not going to show that. So if you want to, you can add further not validation attribute related errors in your action. That's what I did here. You can check if what day of week is. If it's Thursday, which it is today, I won't be able to. You cannot use this on Thursdays. I got that error in my validation summary. This would not show up on any of the fields, like the if I ran into the Superman error, it would not be in one of the fields either. Like for instance, if I wrote Superman 19, create, can't use fake names. That's my person valid attribute. And you cannot use this on Thursdays because it's Thursday today. That was not a validation. That was not a validation attribute validation. That was from this one. So lots of things you can do here. And that was the end of it. So thank you for listening. Bye-bye.